Patreon didn't exist 9 years ago. It was just this. It was a sketch in one of my idea books. And I made a spreadsheet of 40 creators that I was hoping to get on the platform for launch day. 0 of the 40 creators I wanted to join launched with us on launch day. I almost gave up when I got a no from those 40 creators. I almost gave up.
A couple years ago, I did a talk about all of my failures, and it seemed to really resonate with folks. And so I wanted to do a follow-up to that talk at South by Southwest this year, and that's what you're about to see. I've met a lot of creators at this point, and the common thread among just about everybody is this feeling of relentlessness. Every day is an assault, like you're treading water and you have to just give it your all just to stay afloat. This talk is what I do about that feeling. It may or may not work for you, but I hope it's helpful.
I don't like advice talks. In fact, I don't like advice at all. Here's why.
Here's a piece of advice about humility.
Humility is the single most important lesson I've learned over 9 years of running a company. So many people would get to where they want to go if they could just admit they were wrong and move on. When Patreon launched in 2013, I did not like the idea of monthly subscriptions. In my mind, a monthly subscription put creativity on a schedule, and I was philosophically opposed to that. The form of subscriptions that made Patreon awesome was per creation instead of per month. For example, this creator, Smooth of Groove, charged his fans per acapella video. In other words, every time he released a new acapella video on Patreon, it charged his fans. This solved the problem of subscription income for Smooth McGroove, but let him decide when to get paid and when to publish. This creator, Epidaya, was making a gaming magazine and charged his fans per issue of the magazine. This was my genius vision for Patreon, this new form of subscriptions. It allowed the creator to create their own schedule. When a creator signed up, we would just ask them to tell us in the blank what they wanted to charge their fans for, per what, per music video, per vlog, per webcomic, whatever. And then one day, a creator in the sign-up flow decided to write the word month in the blank. And they just started charging their fans once per month, every month. Tons of other creators followed suit, and then creators started begging us for a monthly feature, and it took me a year to come around, but I finally caved in 2014 and reluctantly agreed to a monthly subscription feature. 9 years later, 93% of creators use the monthly subscription model. If we hadn't added monthlies, Patreon probably would have been put out of business by another company, and we never would have grown to where we are today. My original idea for Patreon just wasn't a great idea. We have all kinds of ideas like that. Ideas where there's something behind it that's good, but it's just not quite there yet. In those moments, it is important to remember that the best path forward is not to stick to your guns, but to check your ego at the door and to admit that you were wrong and to adjust your course. So that's a piece of advice about humility. Compelling piece of advice about humility, right?
Fuck you, Jack.
Okay.
Okay, wait. I should mention this guy is not being an asshole. I actually started the talk by asking the audience.
When I give you advice, I would like you to say, "Fuck you, Jack!" Okay? Ready to practice one? And?
Fuck you, Jack!
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
I just hate advice.
Okay. Here's another piece of advice.
And now for a piece of advice about conviction.
Conviction is the single most important lesson I've learned over 9 years of running a company. It's one of the hardest things about product design, having the courage to do something when every sign is telling you not to. Patreon didn't exist 9 years ago. It was just this. It was a sketch in one of my idea books. There was no company, no employees, nothing. It was just me and Sam, my roommate from college. And I made a spreadsheet of 40 creators that I was hoping to get on the platform for launch day. This is a true story. I emailed all of them. 40 out of 40 creators said no. They would not sign up. They didn't like the idea. But we marched forward, and I bought the domain anyway, patreon.com from GoDaddy. It was $10.17. And Sam and I ran a 99 designs contest, and we picked the best design. And the day before launching, I checked my email from a guy who was supposed to help us get a bunch of creators on the platform to launch with us. And the email said, "Hey Jack, sorry for not responding yesterday. I actually sent a bunch of follow-ups and invites to visual artists. Haven't gotten much back. Can't say the interest is sky high on this." But Sam and I decided to launch anyway. And the next day we launched Patreon with just 3 creators. Me, my girlfriend Natalie, and our roommate Lauren. 0 of the 40 creators I wanted to join launched with us on launch day. I almost gave up when I got a no from those 40 creators. I almost gave up. But 9 years later, Patreon has now sent over $3.5 billion since our founding to creative people around the world. Sometimes when you think you have a good idea, you just gotta stick to your guns. You just gotta muster up the courage and go for it, even when every sign around you is telling you that you might be wrong. Okay, so that's a piece of advice about conviction. Both of these stories are totally 100% true stories, but they both result in dog shit pieces of advice. Because for any quality that a human can possess, like stubbornness or propensity to get angry or positivity or playfulness or skepticism or conviction or humility, for any of these qualities, if you surveyed every person in this room, you would find a distribution of the amount of that quality that people have. Like for humility, for example, roughly about a third of you, somewhere around there, would be just slightly lower than the mean in terms of how much humility you possess. Another third of you would be just on the other side of the middle point, representing a slightly more humble bunch. About 13 or 14% of you would be even lower on the spectrum in terms of humility, not super humble. You might talk a bit too much on your first date, not understand why she didn't return your next message on Tinder, but you've got a lot of self-confidence, and that's a great quality. Another 13 to 14% of you might be pretty high on the spectrum in terms of humility. You might have some self-doubt as well, maybe some imposter syndrome like me, but you're not the type that brags about getting promoted on social media. About 5% of you total would be more than 2 standard deviations away from the mean. The 2.5% of you here would have a rare, almost inhuman level of humility. You're always listening to those around you, maybe a little bit too much, maybe sometimes not valuing your own opinions enough. And the 2.5% of people here are not so great. They're the people that think they're smarter than everyone else here, and they should be the ones up here giving this talk. The point is, the folks over here are already humble people, and the folks over here are less humble and might do better with a bit of a scooch this way. And the folks over here might benefit from being a little more confident and sticking to their guns, but because they're naturally humble, they go to talks where people talk about how important it is to be humble, and it validates their worldview, and they keep scooching this way and killing their shot of getting their ideas over the finish line because they don't have enough conviction in themselves. And some of the folks over here might have jobs like being a negotiator or something where it's good that they don't have tons of humility, because if they did, they'd get walked on. So how could I possibly know where you are on this distribution and which directional scooch is right for you right now? So here's a piece of advice about advice. Fuck advice! It doesn't work. Advice presupposes that there's a clear path forward, and I know it and you don't. And that is horseshit. You are the only person in the whole world who can figure out what is right for you right now. I wish I had known that 9 years ago when I read The Hard Thing About Hard Things. Don't get me wrong, Ben Horowitz wrote a great book, but I was an impressionable first-time CEO, and I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I remember following a piece of advice in this book and totally pissing off the Patreon team, and I wound up on this couch at 3 a.m., unable to sleep, literally hugging my legs and crying like a baby. It was so, oh my God, I think about this moment, it's like one of the cringiest moments in my career. Does everybody have those moments where you just belly flop in front of a whole bunch of people? Raise your hand if you have a belly flop moment in front of a whole bunch of people. Oh God, I play those moments in my head over and over. This was one of those moments. That happened because I treated this book as if it were an instruction manual on how to be a CEO, instead of what it actually is, which is a single data point in a sea of data points about how to start a company. No matter the conviction of this speaker or that article or this video, every one of these dots is just a dot, one data point. Even the talk I'm giving right now, I might be totally full of shit. Maybe advice is great. Maybe this guy here has all the answers and you should listen to him. But rather than speculating what's right for you, I'll offer what's worked for me. Take it or leave it for yourselves. I try to practice something called customized design. And it's a simple idea. I try to explore and clarify what is wrong. I define a crystal clear problem statement. I brainstorm options and ways to solve the problem. Then I commit to and flesh out a plan. To help me get started, I ask myself questions like, how am I feeling right now? Why? Where's it coming from? Are there any narratives that I've invented in my head that might be leading me in the wrong direction? What's really bothering me right now? What are the problems? In what ways am I causing the problems? How am I contributing to them? How many different problems are there? Are they related? Is there a root cause underneath them all? Is anything going well? What? Why? What am I trying to accomplish? Where am I trying to get to? How do I know if it's worked? What are my options? What are the trade-offs of those options? Are they worth it? What are the hard lessons I'm learning right now that might help me do better next time? I found that even if I thought I knew the answers to these questions, which I always think I do, I don't have clarity about them until I've explored and defined them in writing. I don't know how your brain works, but the best way I can describe my own thoughts is that they're a bit like asteroids, orbiting around a core idea or feeling, not advancing, just circling. But when I write, it's like strapping a rocket to those asteroids, and for the first time, the thoughts are launched forward sequentially. For me, writing uncurls circular thought patterns and propels my thinking forward linearly. It helps me bring definition to vague, uncertain ideas and desires. It helps me crystallize them into clear goals. That's why I force myself to ask these questions and write down the responses. This is an actual set of responses from one of these exercises in a Pamplemousse annual plan. I want to zoom in on one particular problem.
Okay, for a little context here, Pamplemousse is my band with my wife, Natalie, and we've been working on this problem for a long time now. Here's what we wrote. We're getting sick of the content treadmill. It's a grind. It feels like Natalie's burning out. Natalie and I travel to LA every month and we shoot 4 music videos in a day, which we then release every week on our YouTube channel. We call it Song Per Week. It's really fun and it's led to a lot of success for the band, but it's created a ton of work that feels like it never stops. And Natalie's CEO of Pamplemousse, she runs the band, so it felt like all of this was falling on her shoulders. So we zeroed in on this problem and we crystallized a problem statement.
The consistent burden of Song Per Week, every day, every month, is a burden on Natalie's shoulders. And the relentless schedule of the content treadmill is decreasing her quality of life.
And as we worked through the problem, it brought up a few questions.
What's really at the root of the problem? What does the consistent burden mean? What is the relentless schedule like? What exactly is Natalie doing? How is she spending her time? So I sat down with Natalie, asked her, Natalie, what are you doing? And we wrote out everything that she's doing. Fucking look at this.
It literally took me pages and pages to write everything down that Natalie was doing. Choosing songs and arranging and booking musicians and communicating with the team, pre-production. Oh my God, it was so much work. And only a really small part of it was actually making music.
So we brainstormed some options. What can we do about this? We could take a break, 6 to 12 months. We could stop doing Song Per Week. We could try to take work off of Natalie's plate. We didn't want to take a break. It's fun. And if we kick this can down the road, we'd just get back from our break 6 to 12 months and feel exactly the same. We didn't want to stop doing Song Per Week. This is a cumulative graph of Pamplemousse's subscribers over time. You can see we had our first viral video in somewhere around 2009. We grew like crazy, and then we kind of flattened out for like 7 years. And then we started Song Per Week to kind of reinvigorate things, and our channel took off like crazy. It was awesome. We were like back in the game. It was so fun. So we didn't want to stop Song Per Week. So we started to explore this problem. Take work off of Natalie's plate. The question is, who can we give work to? Now, very fortunately, Pamplemousse had started Song Per Week. It was starting to work. So this is Pamplemousse's views over time since around 2017. So we were getting about 50 million views a year. So we were already making money. We had streaming income. We have membership income. We have some ad revenue. We have some radio income, live merch. So we could afford to hire some people and help us with this. So we went back to this list of everything that Natalie was doing. We said, look, because some of this work requires audio skills. Some of it requires video skills. Some of it requires operational skills. And we came up with this vision to essentially have a head of audio, have a head of video, and head of operations. We fleshed out the head of audio role, we fleshed out the head of video role, we fleshed out the head of operations role, and then we kind of drew out this idea for how we wanted to organize and solve this problem. We've been working on this for 3 years now. It's a hard problem to solve, but this is how we wanted to solve it. 2.5 years later, Pamplemousse is still growing because we're still doing Song Per Week. So the band actually makes enough money to pay all these people. Pamplemousse is still a profitable band, even though we've got all these employees on salaries. Folks have 401k matching and health benefits. Like, it's almost like a company. Actually, it is a company. Pamplemousse is a company. We didn't say we want to start a company. We said we need to solve this problem. The company became the best way to solve this problem. There is no piece of wisdom from the outside, no external advice that I can get from an external source that will sort out these problems for me. Our specific problems and solutions require our personal investigation and analysis through custom design, through deeply understanding and exploring the problem, laying out some options for solutions, committing to a solution, and then building it out over a period of time and focusing on the things that matter. I now apply this to Patreon, apply this to designing recording studios, Pomplamoose projects, personal relationships, company culture, how to learn modular synthesis, working with production teams for Scary Pockets. Humans are blessed with remarkable instruments of observation and understanding. These are miracles of cognition, these things that live in our faces. They're amazing. They're marvels of science. They are free to us and they free us. What's the problem? What am I trying to accomplish? What are my options? I have to keep reminding myself to stop searching from the outside and to start looking inside for clarity. You should practice customized design. Thank you. All right. Who has seen this? How many hours have you stared at a blank page? That's Ableton Live. It's an audio recording software. Who stared at blank Keynote pages for hours and hours and hours? Who stared at blank Google Docs for hours and hours and hours? What the heck am I gonna do? I was just here. I was staring at a blank Google Doc for freaking 25 minutes when I remembered this thing that I do before I give talks, where I watch the Benjamin Zander talk on classical music. This is my favorite TED Talk. I've probably watched it like 40 times. I just watched it like 10 minutes ago.
I didn't say I'm going to move my shoulder over, move my body. No, the music pushed me over, which is why I call it one buttock playing.
And I watched it because it makes me feel amazing. It reminds me like how I want to show up. This guy is so like generous and passionate and warm, and watching this talk makes me feel good. It just makes me feel good. And I actually watch it before every talk I give. I watch this talk. And what I have learned that I can do is jumpstart my own creativity by making myself feel inspired. There are triggers that I found for myself that just make me feel pumped and excited and ready to go. And it's a very simple thing. For me, the trigger is Gary Vee videos. I don't even care what he's saying. You should buy NFTs. I just want to be happy. Don't you want to be happy? Like, I don't care what he's saying. He just makes me feel so good. And so what I did was staring at this blank Google Doc. I opened up Gary Vee videos. I watched Gary Vee videos for 10 minutes.
Kindness is the single strongest foundation to building a huge business.
And I just outputted so much. I have 4 pages. I wrote for 45 minutes without taking a break. That's what I mean by the inspiration machine. Finding things that you can do to jumpstart your own creativity. And here's how I think about it. Output requires input. This is true in all walks of life. People say this about songwriters. You have to get your heart broken before you write a good song. You know, everybody's heard that. But it's true for more than that. Why would you run a marathon before eating the right meal and drinking the right amount of water beforehand? You can't drive your car unless you fill up with gas, or if you have an electric car, you plug it in. In order to create, I need to feed my soul. Just like these other things need to be fed. Life needs energy to thrive. Grass needs the sun in order to grow, and I need fucking Gary Vee videos in order to make a presentation. Most people think that inspiration is luck. Some days I wake up and I feel inspired, and some days I don't. Actually, I think that is very much true. Some days I wake up inspired, which is great, and some days I don't. But what I've found is inspiration, for me at least, is more under my control, and I think because I've started to think of inspiration not as something that happens to me or not, but as an activity that I can do. It is an action that I can take. It's like brushing my teeth versus getting rained on. Like, I can do inspiration. And another core insight around this was that I wasn't missing ideas. I was missing the feeling. I needed to put my body physiologically in a state of mind that was pumped about creating stuff. Anytime I'm inspired, I try to take note of it. I'll take out my phone, I'll write down what I did 2 minutes before that made me feel like that. It's like keeping a log of all the shit that makes me just jumpy and excited. And I can revisit that whenever I'm in blank page mode. It's like a great little hack. The really hard part is observing in yourself when you're inspired. That's the hard part. Great artists are great observers of themselves and observers of the world, I found. Jerry Seinfeld has this bit where he talks about the little Halloween masks that you used to have when you were a kid.
Got the Superman Halloween costume, not surprisingly.
There was this little staple that stapled the rubber band to the plastic mask.
Remember the rubber band on the back of that mask? That was a quality item there, wasn't it? That was good for about 10 seconds before it snapped out of that cheap little staple they put it in there with.
It's such a funny bit because I'd never noticed that staple until he talked about it. He noticed it. That's what makes him special. He's an observational comic. He observes things that other people don't. I found great artists are like this, painters. It's not even that they can execute painting, it's that they see how light reflects off of a tree or a river, and they're able to capture that then. But they're really great at seeing things, more so than even brushstrokes. We can do that too. We can be observers of ourselves. We can notice, when do I feel awesome? What did I do right before that? What made me feel awesome? And for me, it's media. I'm lucky. It's mostly like other people's creations. Casey Neistat videos, Benjamin Zander, Gary Vee. Like, I just have to watch 10 minutes of this and I just go. The point is, you should build an inspiration machine. Yes, thank you. Subtract. I did not understand the power of subtraction until my mid-30s. I love doing things. I loved acting and I loved being in plays and telling stories and all that. It was just great. I also did track and field, I did baseball, I did everything. I did all the things. And I remember I'm 8 years old and I'm feeling stressed because I'm wondering, should I disappoint my drama teacher or my baseball coach because I have conflicting play practice and a baseball game? Probably story of my freaking life here. This is me in college, triple booked at 4 a.m. This is when I knew I had a real problem. I was in this film society, I was shooting films, but I was doing other things. I was in an improv troupe and we did shows and we went out in the middle of the night and we rolled people out of bed at 4 a.m. when they got into the troupe. It was so fun. We had so much fun with this group. Film society, all the kids were busy during the day going to classes. So when we shot our films, we shot them at night. I probably shot 20 films when I was in college. I was also in bands all through college. We played at the local coffee shop. I had a band with my roommate. That was a crazy band. We played at Battle of the Bands and took our clothes off and went crazy. We had so much fun. The point is, I want to do more. My natural state is to do more shows, more videos, more YouTube channels, more businesses, more things that help creators. I just want to do more things. I like doing things. It gives me energy. It makes me excited. Fast forward 20 years, this has become quite a problem. Ryan called, and this is Ryan, my co-founder at Scary Pockets. Ryan runs Scary Pockets. He called me, he was dying. He was like totally underwater. And I just want to show you the output of these sessions. Here's what Scary Pockets was doing. New music video every week, and we're now 5 years old, so we have like 300 music videos on our channel. We were doing stories. We just launched stories a couple years ago. This is a new acoustic, stripped down cover. Instead of funk, it's like acoustic music. We did one cover a day. There were these fun videos, you know, a little bit more stripped down, but still a lot of work. 2 production days a month for stories. We started to get into short form. We started doing TikTok, but TikTok requires a lot of videos. So we were producing another 25, 30-second music videos for short form in TikTok. And the videos were funny, and we got a bunch of followers on TikTok, and it was really fun. We were also going on tour. We planned to play 50 to 60 shows this year. We were building a streaming app for our patrons, because at this point now we have thousands of songs out, and we wanted to have something for our patrons. We were launching a loops and samples thing, so that we have a lot of fans of Scary Pockets who are producers themselves. So they want to produce and arrange their own music using our stuff, so we were spinning up loops and samples. We were playing private shows. Companies would pay Scary Pockets to go play a gig at a party. It was an amazing source of income for the band. It was like, you know, sometimes we get paid 30 or 40K for one of these private shows. It was awesome. We were making a big band record. We were making a record with David Ryan Harris. We were promoting a record with John Schofield, Larry Golding's Mono Neon, Lewis Cole. We were also making these short form commercials every 3 months to like advertise our vinyl club, because we come out with so much music. We come out with a new record every 3 months, and so we wanted folks to know about the subscription record club, and we dressed up as Bob Ross. We were also planning a Pocketeers retreat. This was like a retreat in the mountains for our fans where you could come for 3 days and take master classes and have a great time. We have a Discord where we do live streams. We have an Instagram where we post way too much stuff, and we have a merch store where we sell vinyl and t-shirts and everything else, and oh my God. We he couldn't do it. Ryan was managing this whole thing, not by himself. There's a small team, but not a big enough team to manage all those things. So we asked ourselves the questions, the whole custom design process. What's working? What's not working? What do we want to change? That helped us clarify what we really wanted. Our main music videos were feeling stale, and we wanted them to get better. And we wanted to grow our team so we could take work off of Ryan's plate and essentially do just what Pomplamoose did. That was it. That's really what we wanted. Music videos and team. If we did those two things well, everything else could not be done. This gave us the courage to focus and to ask the really hard question, which is, what are we willing to stop doing in order to get this stuff? I didn't understand the power of this question until last couple of years. We asked ourselves some more hard questions in order to get to the bottom of this. Like, what are we doing that isn't helping us hit these goals? What could be simpler? What could save us time? What feels draining? Where is our time going? Which activities are getting us closer to those goals? Which are holding us back? And two key problems emerged. First, our short form strategy on TikTok was not working. There were a number of problems with it. It was draining to do 25 videos in one day. It was expensive to produce. It was not driving membership. It was not driving streaming on Spotify. And on top of all that, it felt like a high volume, low quality, low artistry kind of thing. It just didn't feel wholesome enough. The second big problem was that live shows were a total pain in the world of COVID. We were getting 2/3 of the ticket sales, but it was the same amount of work to put shows together. There were cancellations due to Omicron. It was time consuming and demoralizing to do loads of work to only disappoint our fans for something that was completely out of our control. And that morning, after thinking through these specific problems, we decided to cancel our future tour plans for the next 6 to 12 months. This was so hard. We also canceled our short form production. No more of these short form days. It was hard to get to that point, but as soon as we made those decisions, it was like immediate relief. Immediate. Somebody might say, you're a band. You need to play live shows. It's idiotic if you don't play live shows if you're a band. That's how bands do it. Bands play live shows. You might also say, you're not utilizing TikTok. TikTok is the future of the music industry. If you're not uploading to TikTok, you're agreeing that you're gonna just go into irrelevance and fade into the past. Another fair point. I actually think TikTok is the future, but it wasn't the focus. It wasn't our focus. Our focus was our videos and our team. It's not that TikTok and live aren't important. They're very important. But there's so many important things that we're not doing. There's always items 11, 12, and 13 on my list that I don't get to, and they make me feel like shit. But what I'm really trying to do is knock 1, 2, and 3 out of the park and not worry so much about 4, 5, and 6, and 12, and 13, and 14. It's easier said than done, but it's been powerful for my mental health and sanity and psychology. And so I'm not gonna feel guilty about not doing these things. We are in the middle of a loneliness epidemic right now, but it's not because of masks and lockdowns or because we're working on things from home instead of from offices. We're lonely because content is not life. When we consume the internet, we are not seeing reality, we are not seeing life, we are seeing content, and content is not the same as the world. I know everyone's been talking about this for years. I know this is nothing new, that we're all posing on Instagram and hashtag living our best lives. I get that, but I think it's worse than we think. When you're recording, it changes everything. Recording our lives turns us into actors, reading our lines to reflect our personal brands and strategically designing impressions of ourselves that we want other people to have. And as more and more of the human experience shifts into the internet, we are spending more and more of our time not being our true selves and not seeing the true selves of others. Companies are performing their brand values on Twitter with flawless execution, and their success is drawing imitation from people who on the internet now act more like companies and systems than like human beings. These avatars and screen names of people are looking and sounding less like Homo sapiens every time I see them on the web. They are consistent and polished and predictable and eloquent and witty and always know what to say. And that makes me feel alone. We act different. We sound different when we're making content. And I'm not saying content is evil, by the way. I think content is awesome. I love making stuff. It's just not life. When the record light is blinking, we will talk about the lessons we've learned and the solace we've found in those lessons. When the record light is blinking, we will talk about our frustration with the content treadmill, but that we just need to remember that we're so lucky to have creativity be our job. When the record light is blinking, we will talk about finding our inner strength. When the record light is blinking, we will talk about ignoring the views and the likes. Who cares about that shit? When the record light is blinking, we will talk about how we used to be so bummed out by the comment section, but how we've learned how to not let the trolls get to our heads. And we will have this conversation, and we will sell ourselves to each other and to the world, and we will congratulate ourselves for gracing the planet with our optimism and our passion, and then we'll X out of the Zoom screen, and we will turn off our cameras, and we will feel tired, and we will feel alone. But we are not alone. Real human beings are out there, and they are just like you and me. This was my favorite thing I did last year. 6 creators in a call. We did 1 hour a week for 12 weeks, and we got together and we talked about what's working, what's not working. Creators were talking about feeling guilty when they relax and take a day off. Other folks are talking about constantly feeling behind. Some creators are talking about feeling sick of creating often and how it made them question their artistry. Oh God, it's intense. Talking about feeling angry at themselves when they're not able to stick to their plans and how it takes a toll on their self-esteem. It was real humans. It was beautiful. It was a wonderful thing to have this group of people and to talk through real things together. I'm going to read a quote from Charlie Kaufman. Has everybody seen these movies? Adaptation, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Yes, being John Malkovich. Amazing, amazing movies. Charlie Kaufman, who's the writer, says this: say who you are. Really say it in your life and in your work. Tell someone out there who is lost, someone not yet born, someone who won't be born for 500 years. Your writing will be a record of your time. It can't help but be. But more importantly, if you're honest about who you are, you'll help that person be less lonely in their world. I love this quote. I love it because Charlie reminds me that even when I'm up here on a stage, I don't have to act out a part. I can just be myself. My favorite artist on the planet, any Prince fans in the house? Oh my God, have you seen the music video for Kiss? Have you seen this video? He's half naked and dancing around and twirling, and he's genderless and he's sexy and he's just amazing. God, I see a Prince video, I'm like, I wanna be myself. I wanna be who I am. Man, I feel the same about Emma Chamberlain.
I love my own mom, but other moms, they love to like bully. Oh my God, can I please tell you a story?
She's wired and weird and a million miles an hour. I see her and it makes me feel okay to be me. Creators in the room, raise your hand. You have the power to make people feel less alone.
Oh no.
As y'all come in, go ahead and like this video.
Just by being who you are. I'm bald. I don't mind it because of how it looks. That's not why. That's fine. Hats are kind of my thing. It's because every day when I look in the mirror, I'm reminded of my mortality. I'm reminded that I'm one day closer to my death. A friend of mine recently told me about a book he was reading called 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals. I didn't read the book, but just the title made me sweat a little bit. The life expectancy of a human male in the United States is 78 years, which equates to about 4,000 weeks. It wasn't that number, though, that made such an impression. It was that I am 37 years old. So that's 41 years left until I hit that average lifespan, if I'm luckier than half of the men alive in the United States. That is 2,132 weeks. The worst thing about death, if you ask me, is that when you're dead, you can't make things anymore. You can't write scripts or record songs. You can't stay up all night and get a video over the finish line. You can't write down your ideas or layer just the right sound effects to make the story hit home. But when I leave this planet and enter darkness forever, I want to know that at least I put my real self into the world in my hours and in my weeks. I want to know that I spoke to someone and made them feel more confident to be themselves. I want to know that I was honest about who I am. I want to know that whether the record light was blinking or not, in my time on this planet, I was who I was. We are not alone. Be true to yourself! Fuck you too, South by Southwest, thank you!